Hello dear students and welcome to this new lesson in the series of English lessons on the أونروا TV channel. أهلا وسهلا بكم أعزائي الطلاب في هذا الدرس الجديد من سلسلة دروس اللغة الإنجليزية على قناتكم قناة الأونروا الفضائية. Welcome back. In today's lesson, dear students, we handle relative pronouns who and which. Relative pronouns who and which. ضمائر الصلة who and which. Let's go. The first question we have in this lesson is, why do we use relative pronouns? Why do we use relative pronouns? لماذا نستخدم ضمائر الصلة? Let's go. Here, relative pronouns, ضمائر الصلة, relative pronouns are used to describe or tell us more about a person or a thing that has just been mentioned before. Again, relative pronouns are used to describe or tell us more about a person or a thing that has just been mentioned before. So, dear students, we use the relative pronouns who and which to add more information about a thing that has been mentioned before. Okay, let's look at this example. That is the teacher. That is the teacher who teaches English. Again, that is the teacher who teaches English. Let's look at the first part of this example. That is the teacher, المدرس. Let's look at the second part of the statement. Who teaches English? الذي يدرس الإنجليزية. Look at the relative pronoun who. لننظر إلى ضمير الوصل أو ضمير الصلة who. Here, the relative pronoun who is used to describe the teacher. So if you look here on the underlined words, who teaches English? So the teacher who teaches English. Let's look here. Who teaches English? We call this a relative clause. This is called a relative clause. Here, who describes the teacher. Let's move to the next slide. Here, study these sentences. Study these sentences. ادرس هذه الجمل. Number one, the boy who won the race is my brother. Again, the boy who won the race is my brother. Look here, the relative pronoun who is used to describe the boy. So here, the boy who won the race is my brother. Sentence number two, the car which I bought is very fast. The car which I bought is very fast. Here, look at the relative pronoun which. It's used to add more information about the car that I bought. Number three, that is the painter who painted our house. That is the painter who painted our house. Look here, the painter who. All right. Number four, this is the book. This is the book which I read last week. This is the book which I read last week. Let's look here. The boy who, the boy who, the car which, the car which, the painter who, and here finally the book which. Here, if you look at the first example, the boy, and the third example, the painter, we will find them people. سنجد أن البوي الصبي وعامل الطلاء هم عاقل. لذلك استخدمنا معهم ضمير الصلة who. So we can elicit something. We can deduce something, which is we use the relative pronoun who with people. نستخدم ضمير الصلة who عندما نتحدث عن شيء عاقل. Look at the car and the book. Here, the car and the book are things. They are not people. عندما نتحدث عن شيء غير عاقل، جماد أو حيوان، نستخدم ضمير الصلة which. Look here again. The car which. The car which. And the book which. Okay, dear all, let's have a short break. Then after the break, we continue our lesson about relative pronouns who and which. A short break, then we get back. فاصل قصير ونعود. Welcome back. Now, dear students, let's handle the relative pronoun who. لنتناول ضمير الصلة who. If you look at this picture, here we have many people. When you talk about teachers, engineers, doctors, nurses, whoever, we use the relative pronoun who. إذن نستخدم ضمير الصلة who عندما نتحدث عن شخص عاقل. Okay. We use the relative pronoun who in sentences about people. We use the relative pronoun who in sentences about people. Let's look at the picture again. Here in the picture, we use who with all these people. Okay, let's have some examples. Example number 1. I visited the doctor who lives next to me. Let's read the example again. I visited the doctor who lives next to me. Here we talk about the doctor. The doctor is from people. الطبيب هو شخص عاقل. So that we use the relative pronoun who to talk about the doctor or to add information about him. So here, I visited the doctor who الذي who lives next to me. All right. Example number 2. I talked to the taxi driver. I talked to the taxi driver who drove us home. Again, I talked to the taxi driver who drove us home. Here, the taxi driver is a person. سائق التاكسي هو شخص عاقل. So that we use the relative pronoun who to talk about that person. Let's read the sentence again. I talked to the taxi driver who drove us home. الذي قادنا إلى البيت. Let's move to number 3. The student الطالب who answered the question is clever. Again, the student who answered the question is clever. Here we talk about the student. He is a person. إنه شخص عاقل. So that we use the relative pronoun who to talk about that student. Here, who answered the question is clever. Let's read the sentence for the last time. The student who answered the question is clever. Okay, dear students, let's move to another exercise, which is join the two sentences, use who. Again, join the two sentences, use who. اربط بين الجملتين مستخدما ضمير الصلة who. We use the relative pronoun who when we talk about people. نستخدم ضمير الصلة who عندما نتحدث عن شخص عاقل. Let's see the first two sentences. I saw the man. I saw the man. Sentence number 2. He plays tennis. I saw the man. He plays tennis. These are two separate sentences. هاتان جملتان منفصلتان. Our target here is to join these two sentences into one sentence by using the relative pronoun who. Let's look at the sentence. I saw the man. I saw the man. Here at the end of the first sentence we have a full stop. في نهاية الجملة الأولى لدينا علامة وقف. I saw the man, but here our target is to join these two sentences into one sentence so that the full stop at the end of the first sentence is to be omitted. علامة الوقف في الجملة الأولى يجب أن تحذف. Are going to join these two sentences by using who. Let's see here. I saw the man who plays tennis. And at the end of this sentence we used a full stop. في نهاية هذه الجملة استخدمنا علامة الوقف. So again, I saw the man who plays tennis. Why have we used who, not which? Because I said I saw the man, رأيت الرجل. And the man is a person, شخص عاقل. So that we used the relative pronoun who. Let's move to the next two sentences. Number 1, she called Mona. Full stop. Number 2, she is a good artist. Here we have two separate sentences. we are going to join these two sentences to make them one sentence by using the relative pronoun who. لنستخدم ضمير الصلة هو لنربط بين هاتين الجملتان. She called Mona. Here, the full stop at the end of the first sentence is to be removed and replaced by the relative pronoun who. حذفنا علامة الوقف في نهاية الجملة الأولى واستبدلناها بضمير الصلة who. Why have we used who here? I called Mona. Mona is a person, so that we used who. The next sentence, here we omit she. We omit she. نلغي الفاعل للجملة الثانية لأننا سنحصل على جملة واحدة بدلا من جملتان. Here she called Mona, who is a good artist. Again, she called Mona, who is a good artist. The next two sentences. Number one, they arrested the thief. They arrested the thief. Number two, he stole the bank. He stole the bank. Let's look here. They arrested the thief. Here again we have the full stop. هنا أعزائي الطلاب علامة الوقف في نهاية الجملة الأولى يجب أن تحذف وتستبدل بضمير الصلة who. Why who? Because we talk about the thief. نتحدث عن اللص. واللص هو شخص عاقل. So that we used who. In the second sentence, he stole the bank. We need to omit the first subject he because we need one sentence instead of two sentences. So let's look here. They arrested the thief who stole the bank. الذي سرق البنك. The last time, they arrested the thief who stole the bank. Okay, dear students, now let's have a short break. Then after the break, we continue our lesson about relative pronouns who and which. فاصل قصير ونعود. Welcome back. Now, dear students, after we have talked about the relative pronoun who, and we said that we use the relative pronoun who to talk about people, or we use the relative pronoun who in sentences that talk about people. Now let's handle the relative pronoun which. لنتناول ضمير الصلة which. Okay. Here we use the relative pronoun which in sentences about animals or things. Again. We use the relative pronoun which in sentences about animals and things. So, نستخدم ضمير الصلة which في الجمل التي تتحدث عن الأشياء الجمادات أو الحيوانات. Let's go. Here, let's look at these pictures. Here we have a tower, we have a cat, a jeep or a car, a deer and a bag. All of these things are not people. كل هذه الأشياء ليست عاقلة. So that we use the relative pronoun which when we talk about such things. Let's have some examples. Example number one, the car which I drove was fast. The car which I drove was fast. Here, in this sentence, we talk about the car. نتحدث عن السيارة. Is it from people? هل السيارة عاقل؟ Of course not. It's a thing. إنها من الجمادات. So that we use the relative pronoun which to add more information about this car. استخدمنا ضمير الصلة which لنضيف معلومات إضافية عن هذه السيارة. Let's read the sentence for the last time. The car which I drove was fast. العربة التي قدتها كانت سريعة. Let's move to number two. My mom saw the dish which I broke. Again. My mom saw the dish which I broke. My mom saw what? رأت ماذا؟ رأت the dish الطبق. It's a thing. إنه شيء من الجمادات وغير عاقل. So that we use the relative pronoun which to talk about that dish. So here, my mom saw the dish which I broke. الذي كسرته. إذن هنا we use the relative pronoun which to talk about animals or things. نستخدم ضمير الصلة which عندما نتحدث عن الأشياء الجامدة أو الجمادات والحيوانات. Number 3. The story which I read was interesting. The story which I read was interesting. القصة التي قرأت كانت ممتعة. Here we talk about the story. Is it from people? هل القصة عاقل? Of course not. Here, because it's a thing, we used which to talk about it or to add information about it. Here, the story which القصة التي قرأت was interesting كانت ممتعة. Now dear students, after we have seen some examples, let's move to another exercise, which is join the two sentences, use which. Join the two sentences, use which. In such exercise, we will have two sentences. In order to join them into one sentence by using the relative pronoun which. في هذا التمرين سيكون لدينا جملتان منفصلتان وسنربطهما بأداة الوصل which. Here, before we start the exercise, let me remind you of something very important about the relative pronoun which. Here, which is used mainly for things and animals, so that we cannot use the relative pronoun which with people. لا يمكن أن نستخدم ضمير الصلة which مع الشخص العاقل، لذلك نستخدمها فقط مع الحيوانات والأشياء. Here, sentence number 1. This is the TV program. This is the TV program. Sentence number 2. I like the most. I like the most. Here, dear all, as you see, we have two separate sentences. كما ترى عزيزي الطالب لدينا جملتان منفصلتان. We need to join these two sentences into one sentence by using which. Let's see. This is the TV program. At the end of this first sentence we have a full stop. في نهاية هذه الجملة الأولى لدينا علامة وقف. Here we need to omit or remove this full stop and to replace it with which. استبدلنا علامة الوقف بضمير الصلة which لأننا سنجعل هاتان الجملتان جملة واحدة. Here, this is the TV program which I like the most. The next two sentences. Number 1, I saw the river. I saw the river. Number 2, it was polluted. I saw the river. It was polluted. Let's join these two sentences by using which. لنربط هاتان الجملتان باستخدام ضمير الصلة which. The first sentence, I saw the river. I saw the river. رأيت النهر. At the end of this sentence we have a full stop as I said before, and the full stop is to be removed. يجب أن تحذف علامة الوقف من الجملة الأولى لأنها ستستبدل بضمير الصلة which. Why which not who? لماذا استخدمنا ضمير الصلة which ولم نستخدم ضمير الصلة who? Here I saw the river. رأيت النهر. النهر هو غير عاقل، لذلك استخدمنا which. Let's go on. I saw the river which, here in the second sentence, it was polluted. We need to remove it and to complete the sentence. I saw the river which was polluted. رأيت النهر الذي كان ملوثا. Okay, dear all, let's move to the next two sentences. Number 1, I did the experiment. I did the experiment. أجريت تجربة. Number 2, it went wrong. It went wrong. Okay, I did the experiment. The full stop, as I said before, is to be removed and replaced by which. يجب أن تستبدل علامة الوقف في الجملة الأولى بضمير الصلة which. Why which? Because we talk about the experiment. نتحدث عن تجربة. And this experiment is not from people. هذه التجربة غير عاقل. لذلك استخدمنا ضمير الصلة which. I did the experiment which went wrong. Which went wrong. Okay, dear students, thank you very much for answering this exercise. Now let's have another short break. Then after the break, we continue our lesson about relative pronouns. A short break, then we get back. فاصل قصير ونعود. Welcome back. Now, dear students, After we have talked about the relative pronouns who and which, let's have some exercises to practice what we have talked about. Here, the first exercise, complete the sentences, use who or which. Complete the sentences, use who or which. Sentence number 1, the water is in the pool isn't safe to drink. The water is in the pool isn't safe to drink. Here, should we use who or which in such a sentence? هل يجب أن نستخدم ضمير الصلة who أم ضمير الصلة which في هذه الجملة؟ Let's look at the very beginning of the sentence. لننظر إلى بداية الجملة. Here, the water, الماء, it's a thing. So that we cannot use who. Here, we need to use, excellent, we need to use which. Here, the water which is in the pool isn't safe to drink. Why which? Because the water is a thing, it's not a person. الماء هي غير عاقل, لذلك استخدمنا which. Let's move to sentence number 2. The people live upstairs are Syrians. The people live upstairs are Syrians. Should we use who or which here? Excellent, thank you very much. We need to use who. Why? The people. We talk about the people. So that the people who. الناس الذين من العاقل, لذلك استخدمنا ضمير الصلة who. Number 3. Our teacher asks questions are very easy. Again. Our teacher asks questions are very easy. Here our teacher asks questions. يطرح أسئلة. Questions, is it people or a thing? هل هي عاقل أم غير عاقل؟ إنها غير عاقل، أسئلة. لذلك يجب أن نستخدم ضمير الصلة which. لنقرأ الجملة مرة أخيرة. Our teacher asks questions which are very easy. Let's move to the last sentence. Number 4. The teacher, المدرس, asks easy questions is friendly. Again, the teacher asks easy questions is friendly. The teacher who or the teacher which? What do you think? Excellent, thank you very much. It's the teacher who. Why? لأن the teacher, المعلم, هو شخص عاقل. And we said before, we use the relative pronoun who with people. نستخدم ضمير الصلة who مع الشخص العاقل أو مع الناس. But we use the relative pronoun which with animals and things. لكن ذكرنا سالفا بأننا نستخدم ضمير الصلة which مع الأشياء، الجمادات أو الحيوانات. Okay, dear students, now let's move to another exercise which is choose the correct answer. Choose the correct answer. اختر الإجابة الصحيحة. Number 1, space, is the country which I love most. Is the country which I love most. Is it Syrian, Syria, Syrians? Here, let's look at the sentence. Is the country which, التي, which. Here, which is used with animals and things. So, if we have the first choice, Syrian, سوري, أي شخص سوري. The second choice, Syria, سوريا, دولة سوريا. And the last one, Syrians, السوريين, الناس السوريين. Here, the first and the last choices are people. So that the good choice and the correct choice is Syria. Excellent. Syria is the country which I love most. Let's move to number 2. The engineer designed that building is my friend. The engineer designed that building is my friend. المهندس الذي صمم هذا المبنى هو صديقي. Is it when, which, or who? Don't forget that we talk about the engineer, المهندس, إنه شخص عاقل. So that directly we need to use who. مباشرة سنستخدم ضمير الصلة who. The engineer who designed that building is my friend. I hope the lesson was interesting and beneficial for you at the same time. Until I see you next time, have a good day and goodbye.
you.